Alrighty. Thanks for joining us, Flynn. I'm really excited for this interview case study to share your journey from obviously working with us in coaching for the last bit over a year now. Um, I'll let you introduce yourself, but I'd love to jump in and ask you some questions because usually people who watch these interviews looking to work with us in a high level capacity who want to go fast, but they also want to hear from people who have experienced it, man. So give us a 30-second introduction to who you are, what you do, and we'll jump into some questions.
Yeah, sick. So my name's Flynn Graham and I run Wildkind Studio. We are a video production company based in Brisbane. We've been operating now as a company from February last year. So it's about a year and a half, which is basically the exact same amount of time that we've been working with Ed. And prior to that, I was a freelance videographer, like one-man band, as well as a freelance photographer, again, one-man band.
So obviously I know your journey, I know about you, but for people watching, I'd like to jump back to the start and then go for some questions around where you are now, because obviously you're in a different place to where you were more than 12 months ago. Tell us before started working with you, where were you? Just give us a bit of a rundown where you were in your journey before you invested in us and before you started coaching with us.
Yeah, so before I started coaching, I was freelancing and just working on referrals, word of mouth, just whoever heard about me. And so people came my way, I'd do whatever job. And at the same time, I was also working part-time for another video production company on the side just to make ends meet while I was trying to grow this other thing on the side. And then I decided at the end of that year, so 2022, I decided to have a crack at just going back into doing things full-time for myself and freelancing. And so when I made that decision to do that, I kind of did January on my own. So I did a month of doing it. And then I was like, there are pieces to this business puzzle that I just am missing here. It's difficult. So I'd already been freelancing for 2 years prior to that. And it's just like your bank account's just going like this and you're just not really getting ahead. So that's when I made the decision, like I need to get some support to help me with that. So I pretty much brought you on board very quickly.
You did. And I know a lot of people who are watching this can be at a couple of different stages. They can be like kind of in the scale growth and looking to go to that next level. Or they could be in that like transition from being a freelancer into like a video agency or media agency or video production company, right? Talk to me about the journey of before you started, right? You tried twice or a couple of times before you went back to that job that you're working for another production company. What was the missing thing? Why didn't it work the first time you tried to do it?
The reason why that I know now, with all my 2020 hindsight and knowledge, is the reason why I wasn't able to grow the business or generate enough work for me to be able to survive and feel stressful was I didn't know how to generate work. Like it's just basically that I worked in an industry where we help other people get in front of people, but I didn't actually understand how to do that. Traditionally, the video production companies I worked for and how I've worked with other people is I would work for a marketing agency. They would come and find me and get me to do the thing, and then I hand off the thing, and then the marketing agency would implement it, or the business owner would implement it. And so I didn't actually understand that implementation piece of what the video, how that was actually being used. So basically the reason why I was never able to get it off the ground is I just didn't know how to generate leads.
Yeah. It's a common trend for a lot of production businesses. It's obviously one of the main things we talk about now, marketing, but yeah, lead generation is a big thing that can stop a lot of people, especially as a freelancer. If you're relying on other people to bring you work, you kind of like technically got a high paying job or like up and down months if you don't have good connections. Which I imagine would suck, right? Personally, I never experienced a freelance journey because I went straight into like running production business and I focused on learning ads when I did my first production business. But before signing up with us, obviously we've done coaching for over a year and a bit now. Before you're a freelancer, you were working in another job, you quit and you started this business. What was your typical day like when you first started? Like the good, the bad, the ugly? Because it wasn't like suddenly pay, invest in coaching programs, suddenly like, boom, I'm successful. It was like, there's some struggle there. There's some good, bad, and ugly. So what was that for you? What was like the typical day like?
So when I first went out on my full time, I'm not just doing it as a part-time thing, but going and trying to support myself full time with it. I tried to create a lot of structure in my day around like, being like, got to go up again in the morning and do a run and do all this kind of stuff and all of that. But because I didn't really understand the lead generation piece, what was actually happening was someone would come to me, I'd get a job, and then I'd put all my focus on doing that job. And then that would pay me to live for like the next 2 weeks, whatever. And then as soon as that job finished, I was like, I need to talk about my work. And so I'd do some posts on social media, organic posts on social media, before I understood that that's a slow burn game.
Hope and pray marketing.
Yeah, basically I put it out there, maybe some people will do it. And then fortunately enough, and one of my existing clients would come back and be like, oh, actually, we need another thing. But at no point was it in my control. And so honestly, a lot of my day was spent coming up with content ideas, filming content, making the process of filming content really complicated, so it would fill up time. Yeah, I didn't really know how to get people.
What were some of the feelings, like emotions coming up like that? Because we're talking early journey starting this. Like, yes, it's your typical day is posting some content, hoping you get some clients. But what was like, how are you feeling at that stage? Were you feeling successful about the business? Like, what was it like, that kind of emotions coming up?
So when I first moved into the business, I was feeling angry because I wanted to go out on my own from reasons. But very quickly that turned into just being straight out scared. You just look at, I saved a little bit of money prior to doing it. But then you just watch that just kind of going, and then it kind of just goes, boop, but then is on an overall trend of down.
Yeah.
And so what I found was that through freelancing and doing the full time, I was barely, maybe not quite, matching my salary that I was on when I was a data analyst 4 years prior. So basically what I was seeing is every single day I was falling slightly behind financially from where I was 4 years ago. So a huge step back, going full time. Yeah, so I pretty much found it pretty scary in the moment of just doing that and seeing that dwindling and not really having a plan for how to rectify this issue, aside from, as you said, just hoping and praying. Mystically scared.
It's a very common thing in any business. Like when you start out, like I know for me, I'd say I was very fortunate. Like I had a whole all in, make it happen. I burnt the boats kind of approach. So like, I don't recommend anyone to go quit their job when they're starting a business. I think you should keep it, because the first kind of 6 months, yes, you might make 6 figures, but you've got to pay for like, either courses or coaching to get the support to go to that next level. You've got to invest in some gear. You've got to invest in some team, which you don't see the profits from it instantly, which is like also like what you're just saying there around, your job as salary suddenly doesn't get met in the business. I don't know, for some people, I hear this across the board. Maybe this may be for you as well. You don't feel like it's working because you're like, well, I want to quit the job. It should be straight away $10,000 or $20,000 a month because I got to replace that.
I had slightly more realistic expectations on how long it was going to take, but it was still a matter of, I was very understanding of the fact that I had no idea. And not only did I have at that time no idea, I didn't really know where to get an idea. The quality, I mean, it sounds bonkers to say, but the quality of content available today around business and stuff, maybe it's because it's all I search, seems to be far better than what it even was 14 months ago, 15 months ago. There's a lot of good stuff out there. But I was too busy looking at other videographers, looking at other photographers and looking at their work and seeing what I wanted my work to be. No input into the actual business side of things, which was realistically what was actually going to, or what did end up making my business thrive and be where it is today, is actually stopping consuming just about the quality and actually learning, oh, there's other parts to running a business. Like, what the hell's a profit and loss sheet?
Yeah. It's a reality check most people take in the first kind of 6 to 12 months when they start focusing on the business. Cool. Okay. So what else we talked about, where you were, a bit of the journey to start, how you felt, and where you kind of going through this kind of up and down, knowing that you're transitioning from a job and like you've got the expectation it's not going to be, suddenly making multiple six figures a month kind of thing. Let's kind of talk about some results, because obviously from the coaching, it's been over a year now. I'd like to, hear what, obviously I know some of them, but I'd like to hear what's some of the results that you've received from coaching that has happened in the last 12 months, some memorable ones for you.
Yeah. So I'm sure everyone wants to hear about like just the dollars and cents, because that's what everyone wants to do, but I'm going to leave them on the hook. I should talk about the intangibles first, because I think they're equally important to me. When I first started, I didn't know anything. I didn't even know where to look, or not even much of anything. And so I found that one of the biggest things that this has done for me in like the first 3 months of our coaching together was opening my mind to, first of all, like the money mindset book that we do straight off the bat. That thing's game changer. Love it. But then also just opening my mind to business concepts and what it takes to actually run a business, and being pointed to resources that someone else has already read and said and vetted, and be like this, because there's a million books out there, but we don't have that much time. And so just being told, read this, read this, read this, get into that really expanded my mind. And the reason why I say that I'll talk about that before the dollars and cents is because that understanding of business that I got from those books is literally the reason why we are signing clients today. Not because of the fact that I know how to better run a business, but because I can talk to other business owners who are hiring us now, and I actually have something of a clue. All of the clients that we've signed over the last 12, 15, 16 months consistently say that the reason that they're picking us over younger videographers or other people up and coming is because when they talk to them, they don't ask the right questions, and they don't feel like they actually know how to drive a strategy. And honestly, if I pitched one of those clients in January last year, neither would I. Neither would I. It's those
So the change would be the knowledge that you now understand a lot more about marketing and obviously business structure to go confidently. You don't just need a video, you need this type of video that's going to do this thing. And like,
not just that, but I can actually understand what their struggles are from a deeper level. So I've formed better friendships with a lot of our clients because of the fact that it's like, hey, I get it. It's not just, oh, you want a testimonial video? Here's your testimonial video, catch you later. It's like, hey, I fully understand that you need to put leads through the door so you can pay your staff and pay your family if you're there. And that's the outcome we're driving to. And that's why we have reoccurring revenue, because we actually have clients that want to stay with us for an extended period of time, which wasn't the case in the past. It was just very transactional. And honestly, all of that comes from the business acumen and the knowledge that I got through some of those reading materials and being forced to dabble into marketing, which most video production companies are actually a part of, but probably like me was just lacking where it goes and what it's actually trying to do, which is interesting. So that was a big thing for me, and still continues to pay dividends now, and has continued that thirst for knowledge. But then when it comes for an actual like dollars and cents part, which is the sexy piece that everyone wants, I have a piece of paper that I have at home, which I took out of my journal, which was my goals that I wrote for myself in February last year. So at the beginning of February, I think we signed on the second week of February or the third week of February. On the first week of February, I wrote my goals for the month. And the goals that I had for that month was I wanted to have $2,000 come into my bank for February. So I was like, cool, first goal, I want to make $2,000. I want to sell a video for $2,000, whatever that happened to be. And then the other one was, I want to make an ad. Those were my goals for February, as well as some like personal things like, oh, I want to be able to run X, Y, Z, whatever that happened to be. So that was cool. So in February, I wanted to make $2,000. And in the last year from freelancing, I think I'd made like $60,000. I think Zero said, made about $60,000. And then in the 12 month of working with you, I think we ended up landing the boat at around $290,000. The first month, most of that income is weighted more towards the back end. So there's still a learning curve there at the beginning. Like I was getting leads through the door very quickly because you've got a bit of a proven method for that. But if you go look at my sales calls from when it was like a deer in the headlights. I got no idea. So I burnt through so many leads that I probably would be able to close now. But I was having sales conversations. And so the revenue on February was still nothing. But then in March, I think we ended up pulling in 10,000. So that was bang compared to my $2,000 goal already, like changing my brain. March, we did that. And then January, February, March, April, I think we ended up doing 10K again. So it started becoming a little bit more consistent because we were moving to a recurring revenue model. And then I think 2 months after that, in June, we had a mammoth month, which you warned me about because it completely screwed our ability to delivery. But in June, we had an $80,000 month. And it's like, so within 6 months of my goal of I want to make $2,000 a month, we'd done over my whole entire last year's turnover in 1 month, which I don't recommend anyone goes and does without the systems in place, because the revenue the next month and the month after that was way less because I had to deliver on it. I didn't have the systems in place. But from there, it's just been going strength to strength. And now we're in a nice sweet spot of turning over anywhere between $30,000 to $50,000 months consistently, which is a very comfortable place for us.
One other cool thing, I think, these are some crazy numbers, right? These are, for some people, that's like, wow, how do you even do $80,000 in a month? And until you do it, then you're like, okay, now I've done, I can do it. But for someone who's watching this, like, they may be doing 5, 10, or even 20K per month, that number's huge. The thing that I like to touch on here, because Flynn said it, and I think it's really important for anyone who's watching this, thinking about working with this, that's not the goal. You don't want to go and do an 80K month your first couple of months, because it is a massive jump, and there's also going to be a big fall, which a lot of what you can probably testify for now is like the recurring revenue is a big focus now, which is like, let's stack recurring so we have like the baseline, and if we want to do an 80K month, we can go sell some brand stories and stack it up if we want to, if that's the goal. But building more of a team and structure so you can get some foundations in place, right? How like let's talk about the recurring revenue. I think that's a really cool thing to talk about now. How much of an impact has like the recurring revenue model had for you?
Yeah, it's been amazing. I think it's pretty straightforward of why, because of the fact that when I was a freelancer, it feels like you're on a rat race. And you're constantly just chasing leads, constantly. But then when you can lock people into a relationship that's a little bit longer, I incorrectly use the term lock people into, but when you're able to have a longer term relationship with people, when you're having conversations that are a bit more into the future, one, you deliver better outcomes for them, which should be your priority anyway. But as well, from a personal level, it means you know how much money is going to be coming in the bank for you over the next month and two, which obviously alleviates quite a bit of stress, but also the fact that it lets you actually build something. Like if you don't know what it is you're going to make tomorrow, like, are you going to go and buy that new piece of equipment? Probably. But would you go and put on a team member, or would you go and invest in something to grow your business? Probably not, because you don't know what's happening next month. But with the recurring revenue, you can project, which a lot of freelancing businesses cannot project their future earnings. They can only look at historical and just assume maybe it's going to be the same. Whereas that full projection, if you want to build a team, you're going to be stressed out your eyeballs if you don't have that forward visibility. Because again, I said on a bit of paper that I wanted to make $2,000 in a month. Currently in our business, we spend $28,000 a month. If I don't have at least $35,000 landing in my bank account, we're stuffed. So to handle that stress of that Amex card going through the roof, you need to know what's coming. And that's where the recurring revenue model has been really helpful. Also, a lot of our clients actually prefer it anyway. It helps them.
It's interesting because it's a a lot of freelancers like the big paydays, like doing a 10K video brand story or a 20K brand story, which sounds good on paper. But when you sign it, you may get paid a quarter of it or half of it. But then that takes a couple of months. And if that's the only sale you've made in the first month, your second month that splits into 10, and then it splits into less than that the third month if you don't bring any more clients on.
I think one of the things that I struggled with, well, maybe other people did too, growing up, was when my very first job got paid monthly, which is atrocious.
That
So
sounds horrible, bro.
I got paid monthly. I was a telemarketer, whatever. And the first week of the new month, living like a king. Second week, living like a prince. By the third week, living like a pauper. Like I was poor as eating beans for that last week. And if you've got really solid foundations of how you spend your money, good on you. Maybe you can facilitate taking that 50K payment or 40K payment, whatever it is you're doing for your videos, and then make it work. A lot of people, myself included, don't have that. We see a large amount of money in there, and then it'll be like, oh, now's that time to buy that thing that I thought I wanted or whatever. And you make decisions without fully thinking about the implications. Whereas monthly recurring, honest to God, it's a huge safety net, because it's like, okay, something popped up and I end up spending a little bit extra this month. It's okay, because I'm going to get a top up next month, and that, which isn't a good business practice. Like, don't overspend. Like, cash is king for a reason. But there's just so many stresses and things that building upon monthly recurring just really, it's just a really solid foundation that then you can bounce off. So our business model at the moment is the fact that the recurring foundation is our recurring model is the foundation and the base of our income. And then brand stories and bigger videos are still things we hunt for, but they come in addition to that, so that we're able to always have this baseline. And that baseline is what pays for everything. So it pays for the studio that we now have, pays for the staff that we have now. We've got a team of 5. It pays for all of that. And so all of those brand stories and bigger videos are what then drives
like the
profit.
cream on the top. It's like it's when you want a big cash injection, you can go and get a couple of those.
Definitely the cream on top. They pay for a lot of the other things that we want to do, as well as in future, they will pay for the culture. So as you start building your team, you want to do fun things with your team. But your clients aren't going to pay for you to go and rig around on go-karts or whatever it is you want to do for your team building exercise. Clients aren't going to do it. You need profit to do that. And some of those larger projects are kind of where some of that profit comes from.
So this is the journey so far. You've gone from freelancer. First year, you've done $290,000 in revenue, which is insane. You had some 80K months, you've had some dips, you've had some ups. Now, obviously, focus is recurring revenue, and you're about 30 to 40, depending on if you have some stuff come on top of that. How would you say you're feeling about your business right now? Like obviously you've had a bit of a journey, but how would you be feeling about your business at the current standpoint?
So I think, as with all business owners, it's never enough, right? There's always the next thing.
It's always more.
There's always some more to do. But I think the conversation I had with you the other week is, I used to have insane stress spikes, and I used to wear my Whoop every day, and it'd tell me, like, you just have this bang things every time you open up a bank account, so all that. I don't really have that quite so much anymore. I definitely have stress because it's just the way the human beings work, but it's more around like team and delivering the best outcomes for our clients. It's no longer quite so much like, oh, shit, am I going to be broke tomorrow? Like, am I going to have to ring up my old boss and get my job back? Like, what that's going to do? I'm not quite having that same level of stress. So where the business is now, it feels quite comfortable, as well as the fact that I now know how to generate work. So that's a big stress reliever, where I know, hey, I need some more. I've brought on a new team member. They need more stuff. I know where to go to get that stuff, and the conversations I need to be having and how I need to be having those conversations to generate more clients, which then I can build upon that foundation. So for me, it's given me, like, sky's the limit now. And it's just kind of like, what kind of business do I want to build? I've got the tools now. It's not like, how do I survive? Now it's like, how do I thrive? How do I create the thing that's going to allow me to do what I want to do in life, as well as what's going to allow me to have an impact? Now I've got the tool sets to be able to
I like what
do.
you said there. It's like, it's a different kind of stress. Yeah.
You'll always have stress.
I was chatting to a friend today because he's like, I was explaining my business. And it's like just all the things that I have to do in my business, like the marketing, sales, and managing team. And I'm like, you say, how do you manage it? That sounds really stressful. It's like, I mean, I'd rather this stressed than be fucking broke because that's more stressful when you can't put food on the table or you can't provide, right? I like the stress of like, communicating with clients or figuring out how can I make my team happy or give them, pathways that they can grow. Like those are different stresses. I think you come down on the head. It's like, you don't have the stress of like the financials anymore, which is like recurring revenue, obviously having the ability to get leads. Yeah, you got new stresses, which is like you got a studio space, you got a team now, which is the things like I think when if I look back on the first call we had, it's like, man, I want to have a team, I want to have a culture, I want to have like studio space. I think the studio space is like a big deal for you for like the whole year, right?
It's been a big, massive thing for me, and it's one of the best investments we've ever made. Because of the facts, like me, like a lot of other freelancers, is I was working at a home, and I have the kind of brain where if I sit down for too long, even if it's to relax or whatever, I'll start feeling like, oh, but I could be doing this. I could be, answering that email. I could be getting ahead on the next project. I could be doing this. And then you just work 24/7 because you can, because the computer's just in the other room. And so it was always a big priority of mine to try separate my work from home. So I had somewhere that I could switch off. And the studio was what represented that for me. It was a big reason why I wanted it. Not so much to create a creative environment, which it has done, but for me, it was always about trying to create that separation so I could actually have a place that I could actually call home, not office, as well as it does lend a level of legitimacy for clients when they can come to a place, I will say.
Pretty cool.
It is cool, and it's had so many positive impacts to myself personally. But yeah, the studio was a really big thing, and I always decided pretty much as soon as I decided I didn't want to be a freelancer and I wanted to build an agency, then yeah, it was always about getting the right team and kind of moving into that place. You mentioned something there around like the financial stresses and the stresses changing. Something that kind of helped me not achieve that, but thinking back about it is like someone, I can't remember where I heard it, they did some studies on Indian farmers who get paid annually, and they did IQ tests at the beginning of when they first got paid and then at the end when they were broke. And when you were broke, you're literally dumber. Like you're making worse decisions. You are scoring lower on IQ tests, which is terrible because usually when we're struggling in that way, it's when we need our brain the most. But it's usually when we make the poorest decisions. And that's what I was doing. I was accepting jobs I wasn't actually stoked about. I was accepting clients who actually weren't probably a pretty good fit for me just because I needed money. I'd do any video for whatever. I was accepting work that maybe didn't quite have the equipment to deliver the best possible outcome for the client. And so I wasn't always super stoked with the result. And so those combination of things, I was saying yes to things because I just needed money, which everyone kind of has to do. But you don't end up very happy because of not doing work that you love. You are working with clients that maybe aren't what you would call a dream client, and all those kind of things. And so having reoccurring revenue, especially, I also need to tell people no. Like if someone comes through and they're like 40 minutes late to a Zoom call and then they're like, send me a proposal, you can just tell them to fuck off because you're going to have another call. Like you're going to have another call, have another conversation. You've already got your recurring revenue. That person's just going to be a bloody nightmare for your whole life. You can just say no and then work with the people who you're actually going to be able to really show up for. And you're going to have these beautiful partnerships. It's going to be awesome.
I love that you said that because I think it's a really powerful thing. Once you're there, it's great when you're there. When you're not there, you take the shit work. And that's where like people are signing clients. And most freelancers, and if you're watching this right now, you could probably relate. If you're like a freelancer, you're doing 5 to 10K, you'll take on any work if it's a dry month, you'll take on whatever comes up. And usually that's the client that kind of is the biggest hassle, the pain in the ass. And you take it on because you're like, oh, I need the cash. But if you had recurring revenue, you had like, say the 10 or the 20 or the 30K baseline, you get to pick, you get to choose. And it's like you have a choice in the clients, which then also builds a better business because your team loves it. Because like, well, we're working cool guys. We're not working just like scraps. We're working like clients we genuinely care about. And, from my perspective and what I've chatting to freelance videographers for the last couple of years is like, they want to do great work, but they take on shit work because they're like, I just need cash. But if you have the ability, the sales, the marketing, and the knowledge of how to get clients on, on retainers, kind of gives you that freedom, which
100%.
pretty powerful.
100%. I think that one of the things I really learned is that when I was being more of a videographer, I was trying to be like a jack of all trades, but no one is good at everything at all. We all kind of have stuff that we gravitate more towards. Like I gravitate more to documentary style stuff, like brand stories, testimonial videos, stuff like that. I am shit at music videos. Can't do a music video for the life of me. It's going to be, don't hire me for a music video. No good at them. But again, you just say yes to stuff because you need the things, and that's why you wouldn't end up being happy with the outcome, because you're not in your like genius zone. You're playing in another space that you probably shouldn't be playing at. Whereas, as I said, if you can say no to people, you can just pick people that are in your genius zone. You're going to love the work you're making. You're actually going to get bloody results for your clients, which is then going to make you feel like your work matters. And it's all happy days.
So true. So true. 2 more questions, man, and we'll finish up because I know we've been jamming out for a while now. I really appreciate you jumping on and sharing this, because the goal of this is for someone who's, if you're watching this and you're thinking about working with us, we want to make sure you can kind of hear from our clients and experience what their journey is like. 2 questions. One question is, what would be what was one, not one reason, but one before you signed up, what was something on your mind that almost stopped you from signing up? Like, what was like one of the hesitations you had before signing with us?
Honestly, I think the only hesitation I had, which is the hesitation that all our customers have, and everyone has, is price. Because it's like straight out of the gate, because I did it so quickly in deciding to go full time, my goal, it was basically a 1-for-1 of being like, cause I needed to use my savings to pay for that. So it was a very big commitment to me as someone who's just starting freelancing. My largest expense was my Adobe subscription. So aside from like the equipment and all that kind of stuff, which is obviously a large expense, but my reoccurring expense was like Adobe subscription. So that was a big, scary point for me, but I was quite fortunate in that some of my other friends who also run video production companies had worked with you and had that bit of a recommendation from them. But I tend to be one of these people where like, once I decide to do it, I'm just like, we'll just do it, because did I have a better plan? Nope. I had no plan. So that was probably the scariest thing for me, was just the commitment. Never done it prior.
I think that's I think it's a very common thing, man. Like investing in any coaching, mentoring, or say for me, I invested, as the day of this video, over 200K of cash out of my pocket has been into coaching and mentoring, and I will still spend more money on it because it's been the best investment. I'm investing in a triathlon coach this week because I wasn't happy with my time in the weekend. It's a good time, but I want a better time. But we invest because we want to get better, right? And you want to pay for people who have the information to give you that next step. It's going to shorten the gap, right? Which is
shortening the gap. I wanted to not be so stressed sooner rather than later. So that was a big one. Yeah.
All right. Last question, man. For someone who's watching this, they listen all the way through. This all sounds great, but what would you say to someone who's sitting on the fence? They're like, yep, I'm thinking about doing this, thinking about joining these guys and working with Ed and the team. What would you say to someone who's sitting on the fence about investing with us?
So I think there's a couple of things here. The one thing that coming from my personality and what I'm like, is I don't want to convince anyone to do anything, but have a think about what the cost is of you not doing it. Not so much like this specifically, but what is your plan to get you to your goals? And if you're looking at this video and you're like, my plan is to post content, organic content, and that's your plan, and that's your only plan, you probably need to get some help along the way, because that seems like the easy thing to do, and it is the easy thing to do, but it's not going to probably get you to where you want to go. There's more to the picture than that. And so if you're sitting here and you're like, oh, I'm thinking about it, if you have a rock solid plan for how you are going to get yourself there, then cool, keep thinking about it. But if you don't, it's one of the best decisions I ever made, because I didn't have a plan. I didn't know how to get me to where I wanted to go. You probably won't regret it. If your goal is like, oh man, I want to make 6 figures. We joke about this we've got a group catch up every single week of people, and quite a lot of the people are students of Ayrton's. And with this joke is like, there is no one on this planet that will get you to 6 figures faster with the training wheels on. Like, you can't fuck it up. The only way you can fuck it up is if you just don't do it. So if you want one of the most streamlined and like dummy proofed, I managed to get through it and I didn't know shit about marketing, like dummy proof systems to at least expand your mind and help you get to that 6-figure number that you're probably thinking right now, that's what you want. That number 6 will change to 7 real quick. But if 6 figures is what you're thinking about at the moment, yeah, I think it's a pretty good, solid investment, and it has been for me anyway.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. I know, yeah, the goal is now for some guys to get to 6-figure months, which for someone who's wanting to get to their first 6-figure year is a freaking crazy number. So, dude, I appreciate you jumping on. Anyone who's been watching this video right now, I just want to say, hey, if you think about working with us, there should be a link around this video somewhere to book at a time with the team. Or if you've been chatting to the team, just go back to them. Any follow-up questions you do have. One thing that I'd like to finalize here, if you are thinking about working with us, as Flynn would have said today, there's going to be some ups and downs. This is not a straight line. Suddenly you're successful.
Still got to run a business.
You still got to run a business. You still got to put in the work.
You got to do it.
There's no silver bullet, but the goal for us is, one of our core values is to leave people better than we found them. And obviously when Flynn came on board with us, clear intention is to make sure he's successful, make sure he has the business that he wants to grow, which is really, really cool to hear a year later. You've got the studio, you're doing 30 to 40K per month. You've done some big months there. You've got a team now. You've got all the things that you probably thought of 3 years ago were just way too far in the future in a year, which is freaking incredible. So, dude, appreciate you jumping on. We'll finish up there, and I look forward to hearing from whoever's watching this in the near future.
See you guys. Enjoy it.